All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of What's What BR. We have our returning friend, Dr. Narcisse. How are you, sir?
How you doing, Brandon? How's everything going? Happy
It
Friday.
is it is good. It is a Friday. That probably means more to you than me, but it's been a week, so it's a good one.
Absolutely.
So for anybody who doesn't know, you are the superintendent of the largest school system in the area. Got what, 40 something thousand kids you're taking care of
Yeah,
every day,
about
plus the
41,
faculty.
yeah, 41,200 kids and 6,000 employees. We're the second largest in the state of Louisiana behind Jefferson Parish, and we are the largest in the state.
So that's not something everybody wakes up and goes and does every day. So jumping into that, just briefly for, like I said, I know, you've been, you've got what, has it been a year yet? Are we right at a year?
Oh
Two?
yeah, but
Okay.
I started was late January, so about what, maybe like a year, 2 months, or a year, month and a half,
Yeah.
2 months. Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah. So that's there. So tell me just, for anybody, because I think sometimes people don't realize, like, what's the normal day, for a superintendent look like? Like, I can imagine, like, I remember I used to be I'd asked this question because one time I was talking with somebody and I was in the technology world a long time ago, and tech people would always call them like the CIOs, and I remember
Yeah,
one guy who was giving a talk. He was like, here's a message to all you salespeople. What you don't understand, when you call me at 9 a.m. and you think you're catching me before the day starts, I've already been at the building since 7 because the fire alarm went off. I had to meet the fire marshal. We couldn't figure out how to get the back door open. So all these things happen, and I'm sure it's the same thing in your world. It's like, yeah, you think it starts at 9, you're moving early.
yeah. Well, I mean, days flex a little bit depending on certain things, but most of the days are, early check-in, just making sure the buses are running. Also, getting up in the morning could also include early morning visits with teams, and then, also visits to schools as much as we can. We have about 85 campuses. And then from there, various sets of meetings around different topics, could be around curriculum, community support, those things. A check on data on how kids are performing or grades in school. Then you go into the afternoon, which could deal with from meeting with various partners that invest in schools. You want to talk to them a little bit if they're available. And then, and then you go to your evening. If it's the evenings, we have about a committee of the whole and the board meetings. We have that twice a month. So that could be an evening with board meetings, or it could be evening around after school programs and partner programs. And so usually, it's a morning to night type thing, and also it includes also advocating for things at the legislature when they're in session. So, for example, yesterday I was at the legislature advocating for House Bill 460 to try to get more funding allocated towards early child education. There's a lot of different moving pieces that go on. And then also, sometimes during the days, it's also, we have meetings with school leaders and trying to see what kind of supports they need. And then at the end, you're trying to make sure the kids are getting home safely. There's sports, so, and then the day continues on. So so you can get all the way through the night, and then from there, you're hopeful that parents and families and students are safe, that you don't get a call in the middle of the night that something unfortunate happened. And so it's just constantly rotating. But it's a team work. We have an awesome group of folks, very vested. The thing I love about our parish is, out of our 6,000 employees, I got about 4,200 of them that live in the parish. So they are in our communities, and so they live every day. We have kids, even employees in our school, employees' children in our schools as well as other folks. And so, it's we have a lot going on, I tell folks, but super excited about it. We have a really great community that's invested on trying to get it right for kids. And so, it takes a team of us to do that.
Well, it sounds, as I'd mentioned earlier before we started, I called, my schedule juggling water. It sounds like you're really juggling the water, over there. So, So that's got to, because not only, I guess, you've got all that to happen. And I guess just to point out what's on your plate so people can respect a little more, all that, but then you got school happening in between. So it's kind of like we all have I've got a normal job. I can go have an 11 o'clock meeting with a staff member. You can't necessarily go pull somebody, hey, we got to have a meeting. Let's get all the teachers from first grade together at 11 or something like that. You got these small windows before and after to catch, and then make quick corrections if needed, or quick praise when it's deserved. So,
yeah, and then you add also a lot of the community meetings. I mean, we've been pushing hard since I've arrived. I always tell folks it's important for me that we're a part of the community and the community feels that we're a part of them. So, trying to get out to neighborhoods and getting kids access to things that they wouldn't have. And also like increasing like sports and summer camps and tutoring and all those things. And so, sometimes I don't think people see that, the school day or the day for a child continues. We're also a part of the after school program, right? Trying to make sure that we have programs that go on from the time school ends all the way to the evening, right? And that varies in a lot of different ways too. So, but it's I tell folks, this job is a continuous approach, and that's why I'm so thankful to everybody who brings their talent to it and their hard work that they bring to the school system.
Well, tell me, what's going on, everything, the school system, I would say, I think it's safe to say, not just with EVO, but all schools, the school that you went to, the schools I went to, we're different now. It used to be you went through, kind of did the early childhood, elementary, got in the middle, got into high school, jumped off to college, or went to a trade school when you kind of started at zero. But you guys have got some programs that I was seeing that where you can graduate and you're already in college at that point.
Yeah, that's right. So part of our pathways work has been to try to bring not only college courses to kids in high schools, but also industries, right? Industries have changed over time. People think of just like, you just only working with your hands, but now those jobs are very technical, right? And so, you have to give kids different type of skill sets because machines have taken places of some of that manual labor. So kids have to learn in a very different way through industry-based certification, as well as giving them advantages for colleges as early as possible. I mean, a part of our Pathways a Bright Future program is to try to get kids in a pathway as early as possible. So one, it helps them to be able to decide, make different sets of choices around where they want their careers to be. And the second part, it saves parents money, right? Because if you take some of the, some of these dual enrollment courses, for example, or you do industry-based certification courses, and you go beyond the next level to go into college, well, we are technically paying at the high school level for parents to not have to worry about taking college courses in their freshman year because kids will be already on a pathway to kind of learn. So, and then you have other kids, for example, if they go into some other technical industries, like, you can get a degree in welding or cybersecurity or some of those things as associate's degrees or industry-based certifications, you could leave here and go right into a job making, from 60 to 90,000 to some jobs up to $100,000. So the world is changing in a different way. And our goal is to try to create an ecosystem, not only of choice for parents to have, whether they want to be in the arts or in industries or in those things, but also giving them advantages financially so they can think about how they can support their children in a very different way. I don't know if you heard, I think I've said this on the show before, but I believe that the gap that we have in schools is an economic gap. And the better that we can give children and families better economic advantages to get to what they want to be, the more that they don't have to waste money, right? And also the more that they can, change their context about their whole family life. I mean, I always say, I use an example of myself, when my mom and dad got their career technical educations, our lives changed, me and my brothers, and, resources were different, and, going to school in a different way, trying to, have access to things were different. And so I think that that's really the goal that I'm trying to accomplish here in our school system.
I think that's amazing. And one of the things while you were saying, I was just thinking, a lot of people, I forgot who the quote was. It was if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. And I think, where that came to mind was, I think you might have a lot of kids that are sitting, maybe running through high school, and I know I went to school with people, it's like, well, I'm not going to college. That's not for me, but if you could get through that program where you had mentioned to where you might have already finished, you're graduating, and psychologically, I think that would possibly change a lot of people where it's like, hey, no, you thought you weren't going to be college, but guess what? You've already done your first year of college.
That's
You're
correct.
25% of the way through,
That's
and you
right.
hadn't even started. And then to me, that could change lives, change family trees, change complete mindset. Where if you got, I'd be curious, almost for, not that you don't want to hide it from them, but if there was a way to, measure where somebody could be like, I'm not going to college, it's not for me. Be like, guess what? Surprise, you've already done your freshman year. Really? Then that mind shifts and changes. Like, well, if I did 1 year and didn't even know it, I'm sure I could finish 3,
That's
and we
correct.
change lives.
That's exactly right, man. I think sometimes we make things harder just from our mindset. The conversation that I'm telling our folks that I'd love to see parents or families or even our teachers or our staff are having with kids is more about what do you want to be, right? And whatever you want to be, we can now figure out what's the pathway to help you get there. Not necessarily about college or not college, right? I think that's not the right conversation. If a child says, for example, hey, I want to be a registered nurse, right? Well, you can go and start off in our, we're partnering right now with Park Elementary with Baton Rouge General, but people don't know that Baton Rouge General has a nursing program where after you get out of school, you take credits for it, and you could become a registered nurse, and you get hired, right? I mean, so there's not this whole like I got to go this and I owe that. I mean, it's this whole connection to schools. I mean, the other part too is like, but and there's ways that you can do this like in a great design. Another school we got coming up that's opening in the fall is we just did a partnership with LSU where we're opening a water coastal school with them. Because I don't know if you know, but when people want to talk about water resiliency and about water, they come to Louisiana and talk to folks in Louisiana because we're surrounded by water, right? We've learned so much about water. And so, the same way like Florida deals with the Everglades, if you're in South Florida, well, water is our thing, our natural resource. And so we were so excited that LSU agreed to us to have a school we're opening in the fall. It's going to be a 6-12. We're starting with just 6th grade. Kids will be able to take classes in there and also do dual enrollment classes. So by the time they graduate, they will have automatic acceptance in LSU and 19 credits, which means you take care of your freshman year. I mean, LSU doesn't have a partnership like that with anybody, right?
Wow.
And that's the flagship school of Louisiana, right? So we think that there's tremendous amount of opportunity on blending industry and schools together to kind of help accelerate children and have opportunity. I mean, when you ask me what I care about for my daughters, what I care about the most is that they have good jobs so they can take care of themselves and take care of their families and those things. So the day that dad passes away, he doesn't have to worry that his young ladies are going to be exceptionally well. And I think schools now, we are working hard to design where we match the schools with the current labor markets to provide tremendous amount of advantages as early as possible. I think long gone are the days that you're waiting for a child to, let me get all the way through high school, let me figure out what I want to do. I think kids figure they have dreams and hopes as early as possible, and our goal is to kind of remove those barriers so they can get there.
No, and I think, something I think that's worth, noting or putting out there is those community partnerships that you've reached out, and found those partnerships that, even though, as we talked in the beginning, that, second largest school system in the state, 42,000, students, it's still accessible, it's still, so if there's partnerships or if people want, you've opened your door to me, when we came to, and said, hey, we have a literacy product. And it was like, well, let me see it. And it's like, hey, yeah, we need to get this to the kids. You've helped with reaching and I guess opening up, more of the system to saying, hey, we're all here for the one goal, to help, educate the children, keep them safe, get them in a safe place, and prepare them for, the real world. And a lot of times in the past, and not just EBR, I'm saying, but in general, schools have been kind of that closed box where it's like drop them off, they run inside, you generally know what's going on. But now we've got partnerships to where, like I said, if you want to be, a nurse, if you want to get into a trade, you've got all these different things that is reaching out, to the community, because the community will tell you what we need. It seems.
Yeah. I mean, when I arrived here from Washington, D.C., what I saw was a city and a parish with tremendous amount of potential and a growing industry. Right? And the reality is I saw that, our school system is a part of that industry, and giving kids the opportunity to get into those pathways and industries is an important part of how I see a school system plays in an entire parish. And the best way I said we could do it is to try to help close the gaps as quickly as possible on giving kids the opportunity, but also at the same time, raising their learning efforts in a lot of different ways, and getting them to do literacy. I mean, I tell folks I may be the superintendent, but it takes a village to do this work. I'm just the facilitator and coordinator of the educational village, right? And when you even came and partnered with us with the kids swoop and the newspaper and those things, I said, you are a partner that helps us to get out the good work around getting kids to read and those things. And I think there's many partners that we should be coordinated across the parish to do that. So my job has been always trying to get that coordination, because we don't, in my opinion, we don't have a resource problem here in Baton Rouge. We have to do a better job in coordinating, I tell folks, and having one direction.
And it's funny, I was speaking at a conference in Orlando, maybe, I don't know, a month, 2 months ago. It all blurs together because we're all busy. But one of the things that somebody in the audience, we kind of did a Q&A, they were talking about, it blew my mind. And they were like, well, it's these millennial kids. They just don't understand, anymore. And we've heard that for years. And I'll drive this back to a point, but I had to look at them and I said, can we pause for just a minute? I understand a lot of people, and it turned to that kind of mob. Everybody's like, well, the millennium kid, yes. I was like, guys, these millennials that you're talking about, they're 40. They're not 20 anymore. These are 40-year-old grown adults. We can't keep saying the millennials are the kids. And the reason why I bring that up is it takes a partnership. There's, soft skills that, the school system, works on. And if you've got a business, if you're an employer, reach out, come to, a meeting and say, here's where we think the gap is, or here's where, we can help. We want to partner with doing this or that. It would seem like that's the way to solve the problem. You just don't run around like people have done for 20 years and go, oh, it's the millennials. They're just not going to do this. It's like, well, the millennials are 40 now and they're grown adults. And if you really wanted to help them, where have you been for 20 years?
Right. I'm a natural optimist. So, I feel like in this job, you have to stay that way, because you always hear different perspectives around these things. But I feel like, you're right. I mean, when you look at the current generation of kids and the generation that we probably grew up in, I think they would probably categorize my parents or maybe baby boomers or those things, but the way that they think and learn is different from how we think and learn. It's a different planet for them. And so you have to design the planet according to how they engage with it, right? And a part of that is, getting them to see, giving them opportunities faster and not creating barriers. Children, think about this. When we were growing up, you couldn't go on YouTube and Google YouTube and type in, a country or, a place and go, you got somebody who actually uses a camera, a 4K, the actual street and or drone or something like that, right? We had to go imagine it through a book, right?
Right.
With some pictures, hopefully, right? But the kids here are more connected to the world more than we think, right? And so that means that their exposure is faster, which means we have to give them more opportunities to think about how they want to see their lives projected faster, in my opinion, because this is the instant gratification generation, right? So when you hear people say, well, we want to just wait for them and see how they do and all that, I tell folks, that may be how you may feel as the adult, but that is not how they see the planet. So,
No, and we'll kind of round this back with, like you're talking this program with LSU. It may have used to been a far-fetched idea, but to be able to say that you've got, a 14-year-old freshman in high school that knows that they want to go into nursing, you know how much they can learn on their own about being in nursing, from YouTube and online. And then we're going to say I'm not meaning this. It's amazing that you guys have this program. That's why I'm bringing up this example that you've got the 14-year-old that wants to be a nurse. And then we're going to basically kind of just stunt them back down and say, okay, well, you got to hang out for 4 years so you can start really doing something like that. That doesn't work anymore.
No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I mean, the kids are, we think children are not always ready to do stuff, but they are way more than we think. A lot of the barriers sometimes are our own belief systems or emotions around things. But what kids need is more exposure. I mean, we just did an Aspire Fair for ninth graders at the Southern University Mini Dome. And we had every high school kid you could think of in the ninth grade from all over the city to talk about careers. And you should have heard, Brandon, the type of questions that they're asking. And, they were like, well, how much money does this make? Okay. And, I have this program, I didn't know that you could become a game developer, I mean, they were just talking about all these type of things. Like, those were not things that we were exposed to or thought about. Someone said to us, in order for us to go from here to here, we have to be a certain age, we have to do certain this. Kids just these days, they're exposed. The more you give them, the more I tell folks, the more you feed them, the more they will eat, right? And so, let them explore it and make decisions. I mean, you got more now in this generation, you have more younger CEOs than you ever had. I think about, if you look at Silicon Valley or you go to San Francisco, they got these young CEOs. Well, nobody was stopping their learning, right? I mean, so it's just, you got to keep giving them, let them push the limits. I mean, because they're creating the new world for us, right? And to me, Baton Rouge is a place where majority of the people who are born here stay here, right? And so we want these kids to be the next us, thinking about our city in a very different way. So we have to keep giving them opportunities to do that.
I think, and maybe, you gave me, the idea, and maybe this is something that, if you would agree with, it used to be, you'd always hear people say, the kids go to school and they'll learn, we're trying to light the spark, we're trying to get that spark. And to me, kind of from this conversation, my mind's kind of shifting to where it's like, no, we're not trying to light the spark. The internet's done the spark. They found the spark. What you've got to do is fan the flame, in culture and cultivate that and go, hey, you saw a YouTube video or you read something on Reddit that made you interested in, water conservation. You know what? Hey, we can feed that to you. Let's do it. Let's go.
That's right. 100% agree. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to fan the flames for them to, get what they need now, not later.
Awesome. Well, look, I appreciate you spending some time with me, today. I know everybody's got more important things to do than talk to me all day. So it's a Friday, you get you in there so you can get some stuff done. I appreciate it. Would love to have you come back, kind of how the program's going. And, I think we talk about once a month. And so we'll just kind of keep this going. But I think I guess my big takeaway is it's a little bit of a mind shift. We're not looking for sparks. We're looking to fan flames.
That's correct. Well, we appreciate, Brandon, everything you guys do to support us and also just getting the word out. I really look forward to always engaging in these conversations.
Absolutely. We have a great day and an even better weekend, sir.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.